I knew that all I had to do was create an environment for people to try it for the first time. If I can get them for the first time, I knew I could get them back. And, being in hospitality for so many years, you kind of realize what you love about it. And for us, it's about the people. It's about bringing people together. It's about making people happy.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. For those wishing to take the deep dive into Australia's rich culinary landscape, there is a multitude of cultures, traditions, cuisines, and experiences to explore. New Australians, first, second, and third generation Australians, tapping into the pantries of their parents and sharing it with enthusiasm, respect, and unbridled energy. Some have taken all the beauty, character, and joy from the old world to develop and innovate brands and products that are adding new colour to the culinary landscape. Ameer El-Issa is the founder and creative director of The Bearded Bakers. Ameer, how are you?
Doing great, thank you so much. What an intro! I've got to work on my voiceovers.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to hearing you talk because you've brought something quite beautiful to our food culture in Australia in the last couple of years with the Bearded Bakers. Tell us a little bit about how that started.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll paint a bit of a picture, I guess where it all stemmed from. My younger brother and I, Joey, we from the age of 13, we started washing dishes in cafes, and because we didn't come from a well-off family or anything, and so as soon as we were old enough to kind of work, actually before we even legally allowed, we kind of just started scrubbing dishes in cafes, just to make a bit of pocket money, and things kind of went from there. We spent a couple of years in the kitchen and had an opportunity to work front house as a waiter, and back then being a waiter was very prestigious. If you're a waiter, you're kind of cool. You get to wear nice clothes and interact with people. Where previously we were in the kitchen, we had spongy shoes and soggy hands. And yeah. From there, we started working front house and had a bit of taste of that and realized being around people, and quickly realized that we kind of took what we grew up at home and translated that at work. And the way we looked at it, we were getting paid to party. Like, we were getting paid to kind of entertain people, working in cafes and restaurants. And that quickly progressed. We started running little cafes and restaurants while we were still at school, And so by the time we graduated from school, I've always loved being creative. And so for me, I always wanted to do architecture. It was a no-brainer for me. And my brother Joey loved the microphone. And so he wanted to be an auctioneer in real estate. And so we kind of went in our separate paths, but we kind of studied during the day, but still ran restaurants together at night. And it went from there. We got there. We'd been in the hospitality game for so many years, and we thought, we've been doing this for others for so long. We've got all the ingredients to kind of just take the leap of faith and do it on our own. And the opportunity arose at the old biscuit factory, at the old Arna's Biscuit Factory in North Strathfield, a little cafe called Barber Scotty. And that was a rundown business, and we took it over, Mum and I and Joey, just the three of us. And I guess our journey and in terms of running the business for ourselves started there. And from there, we obviously realized, hospitality became not so much what we do, but who we are. And I kind of given up architecture in working in a practice, but I didn't give it up in terms of, I guess, a personal sense where I guess our businesses over the years became my creative outlet. So obviously, my family kind of thought I was crazy studying 6-7 years at uni to do architecture, and then you go, serve coffees for people. Like where's the where's the logic in that? What my family didn't realize, I was still expressing my creativity and passion for architecture. I was just using hospitality as that vehicle. And so over the years, I've designed, our spaces and venues and even dishes, and got creative with the way we build dishes as well, and the construction of ingredients and textures and things like that. So for me, it's about having that creative outlet. That's where I feel kind of alive. And that's been a blessing over the years. Over the years, we've kind of went on from Barber Scotty. We took an old rundown auto electrician in Croydon Park and turned it into a restaurant.
Wow.
Called Shisha. That's where we met.
Yeah.
And it was at that point where I started to we wanted to showcase more of who we were. Up until that point, it was about doing, I guess, Barbascotti, Italian influence, Mediterranean, modern Australian, what people wanted, right? Where with Shisha, we wanted to showcase more of who we were. And so that's where I started experimenting with a lot of dishes that we grew up on, a lot of mum's recipes, that we have at home. And one of them was this dessert, called Knafeh. It's just beautiful, really simple, humble dessert. Think of a warm creme brulee for those who don't know what Knafeh is. It's kind of this crunchy coating, and you crack into it, and it's got this oozing, creamy, cheesy center. And so we baked that fresh to order, and we put crushed pistachios and a fragrant sugar syrup to taste. And I'll do this all at the table in terms of the sugar syrup and the pistachios and so forth. And it quickly gained a lot of attention at the restaurant. All of our food reviews became about the Knafeh.
Yeah.
So people started calling up the restaurant and go, "We heard about the Knafeh. We'd like to come and have dinner and try it afterwards." Or even some people would say, "Do you do takeaway?" And so the takeaway side of things escalated, and it got quite busy and started putting, a bit of strain on the kitchen. And as you know, working with chefs is quite challenging. And we only had the one combi oven, and we're trying to do everything in it, And so it did put a lot of pressure on the kitchen and myself to try to find a solution, how we're going to cater for the demand. And I think it was at that point my two worlds really kind of came together. And that's obviously my love of food and people, and my passion for architecture. And what I mean by that is it's all through my architecture degree, where I was inspired many years prior, mind you. I was inspired to do something with a shipping container. I think I did 6 years at uni just to take a half an hour case study on shipping containers. And so many years ago, and until now, actually, architects are transforming shipping containers into all kinds of things. But back then, I'll turn them into really high-end apartments. And this was happening in New York and Berlin and Tokyo. And it struck a chord with me back then, through my studies. And from that point on, it kind of caught my attention. And I knew that there was hundreds of thousands of these shipping containers lying around the world that just dormant. No one's doing anything with them. And so I looked at it as a blank canvas. And so years passed, and every time I'd see a shipping container, I go, far out, I'm gonna do something with one of those one day. But I just didn't know what, right? And so obviously, faced with the challenges with the demand of the restaurant with the Knafeh, and obviously, how popular it was, and, trying to find a solution. And I don't know what happened, but I think, it was at that point where I said to myself, like, that's what it's been all these years. Knafeh and shipping container. It made no sense. It made, it'll even, I'll go, like, I mean, what are you even thinking about? But I knew that's what it was. And from that point on, I just started, looking around for containers, and bought one actually before I told my business partners, and my brother and my sister, because I know I'm the crazy creative one, and I wanted to put myself in a position that they wouldn't talk me out of, pretty much. And it kind of just went from there, and we kind of wanted to just do this one product concept, because my mum got excited because she thought we're going to do all these Middle Eastern sweets. I go, Mum, relax, we're just going to be doing the Knafeh. She goes, what do you mean? She goes, no, we'll do, baklava and, a lot of other dishes that we grew up on. I go, no, we're just going to do this one thing. She goes, what if they don't like it? I go, well, they're probably not going to come. But but I knew, I had faith in the dish. I knew how it made people feel. And like I said, I think the beauty is in the simplicity of it, And so all I knew that all I had to do was create an environment for people to try it for the first time. If I can get them for the first time, I knew I could get them back. And, being in hospitality for so many years, you kind of realize what you love about it. And for us, it's about the people. It's about bringing people together. It's about making people happy. And I guess that's why they call our industry hospitality, because that's what we should be giving, right? And so I thought, if we can just get the simple things right, and obviously get creative with the space. Mind you, it was a really simple fit out. I didn't go too crazy with it. It's like I said, for those listening, the container, like it's only got one oven and a stainless steel bench in there, and one burner, and so we kind of it looks like this big production, but I take the most valuable things with us once we close up every night, and that's our boys, that's our bakers. It's and it's our team who have become our family really, that have helped us bring this concept to life, because each one's got their own beautiful charisma and charm and personality. We all share the same values, and that's that love of food and people. And the way we look at our business is that we don't really look at ourselves as we're in a product business. We're not really selling Knafeh, and it's about creating experiences for people. And if we can continue to do that, I think the journey, it will be so beautiful, because there's things that happen that we don't even realize. It's just so spontaneous and raw, And so if it was just a product-driven business, I think it would have been a 6-month fad, and we're going on to 6 years now, just on.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 years on one product. We don't have a menu.
Well, let's have a look at that experience, because as you say, it's not just about the Knafeh, which is amazing in itself, but the actual experience that you deliver. You've got this mobile shipping container. You've got Sydney and Melbourne. Tell us about the experience that people have and the show that you put on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's beautiful hospitality in the simplest form, and we don't give our team any kind of choreography or anything, but we look at it as a food theatre. And so I guess our whole team share those values of hospitality. And so it's about creating experiences. So being the way the business model works is that we tour. So every 2 weeks we're in a different location. We bake from Thursday to Sunday over a 2-week bracket in every location. And so we bake in like locations like old workshops, laneways, you name it. Like, where can I say, like, the harder to find under bridges, the harder to find the better, So real hidden kind of locations, most of them. And so it's one of those places where it's not, you don't drive by and go, oh, we'll stop here tonight. It's 100% destination based. And so when you arrive at Knafeh, you probably hear Knafeh before you see it. You probably hear the music, coming. Oh, where's that music coming from? And then you arrive and you see it in a distance, and you see all these hopefully good-looking, charismatic bakers all in white, and sometimes they're up in a bar dancing and baking and shaking, we call it. But we're baking this dessert. It's we're taking this one dish, right, and we've dissected it into, like I said, what I call food theatre. And so before us, if you wanted Knafeh anywhere, pretty much anywhere in the world, really, you go in and ask for a slice of Knafeh. It's already been pre-made. They'll cut it up and they'll give it to you. Now, if it's cold, they'll probably heat it up in a microwave if you're lucky. And so we kind of took this one dish and we wanted to deliver it fresh. And so we got about, anywhere between 6 and 8, 9 bakers doing this one dish. Yeah. So one's taking your order, one's, making the actual batch, one's ladling, one's crumbing, one's spraying the rose water wash, one's loading them into the oven. And it's this conveyor oven, obviously to cater for the volume, right? And then on the other end of the conveyor, there's another 2 bakers. One's just putting pistachios and boxing, and the other guy's calling your name out on a microphone. And so that's kind of, a little bit of the experience in a nutshell. And obviously, we're put on a show in between, and there's music playing in the background. We're trying to sing and dance, and like I said, but it's all very raw and spontaneous. We don't give the bakers any kind of strict guidelines in terms of what we should do, and because they understand why people come. And if you just do what you do with love and give that hospitality, people resonate to that.
Take us back to your childhood. You mentioned earlier about the importance of some of the dishes in your family. Can you tell us about some of those family meal times and the importance and the role that they played in the development of what you do now?
Yeah, really a good question, actually. I think that's how we've become who we are. It's we became a product of our environment, and so growing up, mum and dad, we were always cooking and entertaining at home, till now actually. And so we were always surrounded by food and people. And so my mum's one of 11 kids, and my dad's one of 7. And so I've got about 100 first cousins. And so family get-togethers like are normally at football stadiums, you know. Um, so but growing up, food for us is it's a celebration, like every day. Like it's not just about cooking to get full. Like mum will spend all day, preparing food, and then we all gather around the table with, whether it's immediate family or extended family. But it's always about bringing people together and enjoying that. Like very rarely are you ever sitting on your own eating. So we were always having people. Like our front door, we never used to close it. Like it was never locked. Like everyone knows us for not locking our front door, and they joke about it. They go, "Do you guys ever lock your front door now?" you know. And so I think those values end up shaping us, to be honest, and what we kind of share at within the businesses. It's kind of we've taken those values and implemented them in our business. It's pretty much what I'm trying to say. It's not really any different, and so people can tell. People can tell when you experience something from the heart and when something's real, or when something's put on and it's fake. And I think that's why there is a big difference between customer service and hospitality. Like you go into a cafe, and most cafes or restaurants or bakery, like they give customer service, and if you get a good experience, you've got really good customer service. But it should feel like hospitality, where it's not put on. It's like it's from within. And so, like I said, we took those values that we grew up on, and we just implemented them in our business. And I'll be honest, I don't think we were naturally business savvy, and we're probably still not. But but for us, it was we realized that we're really good at building good relationships with people, and as a byproduct of that, we been incredibly blessed to build really cool brands and businesses with those values.
What surprised you over the last 6 years of building this brand and identity that's so popular and so well received? Has there been hurdles along the way? What's it been like?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of challenges. But the way we look, like if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And so now when we face challenges and hurdles, we kind of always expect it. And so we automatically go into solution mode. And I'll give you an example. Like prior to Knafeh, for many years, I guess all of our businesses became reliant on my brother and I. Like we couldn't step away from the business because people would come in and ask for AJ and Joey, like our nicknames, right? And so if we took days off, like people wouldn't come, or they go, they want to be served by us. We remember people's coffees or what they liked, how, like they didn't need to order their coffee. Like we had their coffee on the bar as soon as they walk in, and we set a really high bar, and that we thought was great. And my sister's a pretty switched on, person and business savvy. And she goes, if you guys are, this is many years ago, she goes, if you guys are the business, she goes, how can we sell it? I go, what do you mean? Like people are coming in and asking for us. How good's that? We couldn't get our head around like what she's trying to say. And so by the time we launched Knafeh, we kind of took all of our experiences, and it's true when people say experience breeds expertise, because we put all of our experiences into this really simple concept. And, there's so much depth in Knafeh that I guess most people wouldn't even recognize. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's kind of making Knafeh look effortless. And I'll give you an example, like to kind of that solution for Joey and I to kind of be able to work on the business, not just in it. This is how the Bearded Bakers came to life, is that we wanted to create, when we launched Knafeh, we wanted to create a brand where we could be there when we're not there, like something tangible that people wouldn't ask for just Joey and I. And so obviously, Knafeh is a Middle Eastern concept, my father being born in Jerusalem. We wanted to kind of showcase more of our culture, and translate that in a more tangible way. And just the whole idea of like, these good-looking, charismatic, bearded men, came to life, in white aprons. And I don't know, it's really hard, like weird to say, but like all these little pieces just started happening organically and felt right, and go, yeah, mate, that's it. That's what it is. And but at that time, we didn't realize the bearded bakers would become a brand. It was just a solution for a problem that we had. And so now looking back, we find ourselves, doing a lot of I spend most of my time on now brand partnerships and collabs, for food, fashion, lifestyle, the automotive industry, things that even not related to food. And so it's the brand of the bearded bakers that people have really resonated with. And like I said, it's been an incredible journey. Like sometimes things just find you. You create the infrastructure for it to exist, but from that point, the real beauty, so I believe, is unplanned.
You must have had some great reactions to the bearded bakers. Do you have any favourites?
Yeah, well, actually, before we launched it, a lot of people thought we were crazy because put it this way. Let's rewind 6 years, right? Before the bearded bakers and Knafeh, if you spoke about Middle Eastern or Arab men with beards, what was the conversation? There wasn't this positive light, It actually had a negative connotation. Like Arab men with a beard was looked upon as, not as good, right? And so we took something like negative and turned it into a positive. And now when people come to Knafeh, or when you see like a Middle Eastern guy with a beard, like, man, like that's cool. Like it's almost become like sexy, like. But 6 years ago, it wasn't that case. It was actually, looking back now, it was a big risk. But yeah, that was one of the most interesting things. Obviously that we faced at the beginning. But yeah, some more positive. So you're saying, go back to your, I forgot the actual original question. Hopefully I started to answer it.
You must have had some great reactions to the bearded bakers. Do you have any favourites?
Honestly, there's been a lot, because we've, just to give you an idea, we've been baking and touring for 6 years now, and being in a different location every 2 weeks. We've done like hundreds and hundreds of locations, and really cool kind of partnerships. Working with Qantas was an amazing experience. We did a cool commercial for Microsoft. We launched Knafeh in New York.
Wow.
Where the concept was, where I guess New York for me inspired me for so many years. We launched Knafeh in New York 3 years ago. And so we do international tours where we plan like a 3-month tour, and we'll send a team over, and, we'll tour New York, the 5 boroughs. So that happened, 3 years ago. We're actually doing an event in Miami at the end of the year. But honestly, the most beautiful experiences are the ones that happen on a night-to-night basis, with the reactions that we get from people on a personal level. Yeah, we do some really cool things with some awesome brands, but the things that really get us excited are those experiences that, I guess, the joy we bring to people every night that we bake, because you get to see it right then and there, and we attract a wide range of people, like young and old, couples on first dates, foodies, hipsters, like you name it. It's such a wide range of demographics. And so we attract a lot of families as well, and a lot of the kids love it. It's so the kids, yeah, absolutely dig it. And they come up and stand at the bar and watch the boys. They're just so fascinated about what's happening. And so it's a beautiful thing, doing what you love, and people enjoying what you do.
With a mobile offering that's reliant on events as well. What sort of impact did COVID have originally on your business?
So when COVID hit, it was unprecedented times, and a lot of people kind of running around like headless chooks. And we thought, all right, well, I kind of just wanted to just digest it all and see what's actually going on. And so I didn't want to make any rational decisions. So we kind of just I just kind of took a couple of days off just to understand what is going on. And I came up with we came to a realization where we thought, let's use this opportunity, or let's use this time as an opportunity to do things that we would normally do. Let's get creative. And so Joey my young brother was down in Melbourne, and we launched an online platform in Melbourne called We Make It, You Bake It. And so we partnered up with so Joey and Salvatore, the founder of St. Ali in Melbourne, did an amazing collaboration down there, and we started distributing through the St. Ali online store the We Make It, You Bake It concept, and had the recipe card in there. So we'd prepare from the central kitchen. The Knafeh was obviously packed and sealed with all the ingredients. All you had to do was just bake it in the oven, take it out, put the sugar syrup and the pistachios, and people really digged it. And so that kind of took off in Melbourne. And in Sydney, we launched a drive-through model. And we thought, how do we keep doing what we do? How do we keep, like, in these crazy times, how do we keep bringing joy to people? And so, and obviously without people having to get down, we thought, oh, let's create a drive-through with experience. No one's ever done that before. So we found ourselves, people driving from all around town, and you'd see lines of, queues of cars lining up, and they'd arrive at the container, and we still got the music blaring. The boys are pretending to do car washes, and, we're dancing on people's bonnets. And honestly, we just told the bakers, just have fun. Let's continue to bring joy to people. And what the boys brought to the table, like, it was just, everyone's got their own flair and creativity, and it was unbelievable. And we thought, there's a big market for a drive-through with experience. And so that got us through COVID, and we thought it's something that I'd never think that would ever do, and people love the fact that you need to get out of the car. So yeah, we got a little bit creative, and I feel like we had a bit of a moral responsibility as well. I think there was a lot of businesses, looking at us to see, what are the bearded bakers going to do? And so I think a lot of people kind of took COVID as an opportunity to have time off, to say, hey, I probably need a break, and just stay at home or whatever it may be. Or some people didn't know what to do. And so we thought, how do we, let's get creative. Let's see if we can inspire others to just keep soldiering on. And you only need one or two things to take off. And it's just a matter of experimenting. What have you got to lose if it doesn't work? So it's about just tweaking it until it works, really, and that's my kind of advice to people when people go, like, are you ever scared to fail? I go, like, well, what do you mean? Like, I go, like, not getting the results that you want. I go, just keep tweaking it. Keep manipulating it until it works, and before you know it, like, something's bound to take off. Just can't give up. It's not an option.
You mentioned Miami and the event that you're going to do over there.
Yeah.
What else can we expect on the cards in the next year from the Bearded Bakers?
Well, we had two cracker dishes at the restaurant. One of them was the Knafeh, and the other ones, I don't know if you tried it back then, was the lamb and pine nut dumplings.
Yes, I did.
In creamy yogurt. Yes. Yeah. It's called shish barak. So I'm pretty excited to kind of announce that. We have been teasing it a little bit, but not everybody knows. The last couple of years, we've been developing a Middle Eastern dumpling concept. So taking these dumplings and, translating. So you think of going to an Asian dumpling house, right? But translated into a Middle Eastern format. Anywhere in the Middle East you go, everyone does their own take on dumplings. Yet no one's ever done anything with it. And so, honestly, this is something it's unbelievably exciting for me, because we get to bring something really new and dynamic, and showcase more of who we are, food that we grew up on, but presenting it in a way that people just wouldn't expect. So it's a Middle Eastern dumpling house, where you'd still have the Middle Eastern guys, shirts rolled up, tattoos, who knows, folding dumplings, the whole cooking line in front of you, where you can actually sit at the bar and watch these guys, whipping up dumplings. And where Knafeh is high energy, shish barak is going to be the exact opposite. It's kind of going back to the old school, the old school kind of music and acoustic, and going back to the old school classics, really. And like I said, it's an opportunity for us to showcase our culture in a way that hasn't been done before.
Well, I haven't had shish barak since then, and I've thought about it a few times, so I'm very excited to hear this news. We've loved having you on Deep in the Weeds to share your story today. Please keep in touch, and good luck with everything, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for the opportunity. Take care, guys.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we share the stories of Australia's hospo community, suppliers and producers in search of hope during this pandemic. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.